Imagine standing at the edge of an endless desert, the weight of the universe pressing down on you and a single question echoing in the wind. What's the meaning of it all? Paul Bowles' masterpiece, The Sheltering Sky, isn't just a tale of adventure in North Africa. It mirrors our deepest fears, desires, and the age-old quest for purpose. Today, we're merging the worlds of literature and psychology, exploring Bowles' classic novel through the lens of existential psychology. Prepare to see The Sheltering Sky in a light you've never imagined. Now, before we dive into The Sheltering Sky, let's get to know its creator, Paul Bowles. Born in New York in 1910, Bowles started as a promising composer. The city's vibrant art scene shaped his early years, exposing him to a world of music, literature, and avant-garde ideas. And like many artists of his time, Bowles was drawn to Paris, the epicenter of artistic revolution. And there he rubbed shoulders with legends like Gertrude Stein and Jean Cocteau. But it was North Africa that truly captured Bowles' heart. He settled in Tangier, Morocco, making it his home for over half a century. Now, Tangier became a hub for writers and artists, many lured by Bowles' magnetic presence. His home was more than just a residence. It was a meeting point for creative minds from all over the world. And amid this backdrop of cultural exchange and the raw beauty of North Africa, Bowles penned The Sheltering Sky. His personal experiences, the landscapes he loved, and the people he met all found their way into the pages of this remarkable novel. And with this context, we can better appreciate the depth and nuances of Bowles' storytelling. But to truly understand The Sheltering Sky, we must explore the world of existential psychology. Imagine standing alone, facing a vast horizon, and pondering life's biggest questions. This feeling, this moment of introspection, is at the heart of existential psychology. Existential psychology is all about the human experience. It's not just about how we think or behave, but about how we feel, how we relate to the world, and how we find our place in it. And one of the main ideas here is freedom of choice. We all have the power to choose, but with that power comes responsibility. And sometimes that can be overwhelming. Then there's the reality of our own mortality. Knowing that our time is limited can lead to anxiety, but it also pushes us to seek meaning, to make our moments count. Even in a crowd, we can feel alone. Existential psychology talks about this inherent isolation, the feeling that in the end, we're all on our own. But it's not all gloomy, because while life might not hand us ready-made answers, we have the incredible ability to create our own meaning, to paint our own stories on the canvas of existence. With this understanding of existential psychology, we can start to see the meaning in The Sheltering Sky, where characters wrestle with these questions, set against the immensity of the North African desert. It's in this vastness of the Sahara Desert where our story unfolds. Meet Port and Kit Moresby, an American couple and their friend Tenor. They're not just tourists, they're seekers, each looking for something different. Their journey starts in the lively streets of North Africa, filled with colors, sounds, and the allure of the unknown. But as they move deeper into the Sahara, the landscape changes, the cities and towns fade, replaced by an endless sand and an unforgiving sun. As the days pass, the desert becomes more than just a backdrop. It mirrors the emotions and tensions between the trio. Challenges arise both from the environment and within their group. Trust is tested, relationships strain, and the desert's enormousness amplifies their feelings of isolation and vulnerability. Yet, amid the uncertainty, there are moments of beauty and introspection where the characters confront their deepest fears and desires. In The Sheltering Sky, Paul Bowles gives us more than just a story. He reflects on life, love, and the human condition set against an unforgiving yet mesmerizing landscape. In the novel, the seemingly never-ending desert isn't just a setting. It's a symbol of the search for meaning in an undifferent world. Port and Kit, our main characters, are not just wandering through the Sahara. They're on a quest, though they might not fully understand it. It's a quest for something deeper, something beyond the ordinary. Bowles writes, How many more times will you watch the full moon rise? Perhaps 20. And yet it all seems limitless. And this line captures the essence of their journey. Their environment is as vast as their search. But in this exploration, there's a sense of aimlessness. The desert offers no clear paths, no signposts. Like life, it's huge, open, and often confusing. Kit especially seems to be looking for something she can't quite grasp. Her journey is not just across the desert, it's an inward journey, a quest to find meaning in a world that often feels empty. And in the silence of the Sahara nights, under the endless sky, Port and Kit confront the existential questions that haunt us all. What's the purpose of our journey? What meaning can we find in the broadness of existence? Bowles doesn't offer easy answers to these questions in the novel. Instead, he invites us to reflect on our search for meaning in a world as broad and mysterious as the desert itself. The desert, with its relentless sun and unforgiving terrain, also serves as a constant reminder of life's fragility. As Port, Kit, and Tunner traverse the Sahara, they're not just battling the elements, they're facing that ever-present shadow of mortality. Bowles writes, "Death is always on the way, but the fact that you don't know when it will arrive seems to take away from the finiteness of life." This uncertainty, this unpredictability, heightens the tension throughout their journey. And in the enormity of this veritable wasteland, the characters are stripped of the distractions of modern life. They're left to face the raw realities of existence, and death becomes a palpable presence. Each challenge, each twist in their journey brings them to face with their vulnerabilities. It's a stark reminder that life is fleeting and every moment is precious. This reminder prompts us to reflect on our mortality. In the silence of the desert, amid all the unknowns in the universe, how do we come to terms with the inevitable end? Bowles doesn't shy away from these tough questions. Instead, he uses the backdrop of the Sahara to remind us of the fragility and beauty of life. The silence of the desert has a way of making one feel alone even when surrounded by others. And in the sheltering sky, this sense of isolation isn't just a product of the landscape. It's deeply felt by our characters, especially Port and Kit. Bowles notes, he did not think of himself as a tourist, he was a traveler. This distinction underscores a deeper feeling of alienation. While tourists remain connected to their familiar world, travelers like Port and Kit are adrift, disconnected. The cultural richness of North Africa, while mesmerizing, often amplifies their feelings of being outsiders. They're in a land where customs, languages, and ways of life are starkly different from their own. And these interactions, sometimes awkward, sometimes profound, reveal the challenges of bridging two worlds. It's not just about language or customs, it's about the deep-seated feeling of not truly belonging. Bowles masterfully uses the setting to magnify these feelings, and in the grand scheme of the universe, amid the endless sands, the characters' struggles with isolation become all the more poignant. And as I've hinted, the novel asks more questions than it answers. In a world so vast and diverse, how do we find our place? How do we connect when we feel so profoundly alone? The desert, with its boundless horizons, symbolizes ultimate freedom, but with freedom comes a price. And in the sheltering sky, Port often finds himself at a crossroads, both literal and metaphorical. His choices aren't just about which path to take, but about the weight of those decisions. Bowles observes, each man's destiny is personal only insofar as it may resemble what is already in his memory. And this suggests that while we have the freedom to choose, our choices are often shaped by our past, our memories. Throughout their journey, Kit and Port confront the consequences of their choices. The desert, unforgiving and relentless, doesn't allow for mistakes. Every decision carries weight. Every action has repercussions. This interplay between freedom and responsibility is not just a theme in the novel, it reflects our lives. We all cherish our freedom, the ability to choose our path, but with that freedom comes the responsibility of facing the outcomes, whether good or bad. Here, Bowles seems to ask the reader, how do we balance our desire for freedom with the responsibility it demands? The vibrant streets of North Africa, alive with colors, sounds, and scents, and for Port and Kit, these streets are both alluring and disorienting. The couple's journey isn't just through the physical landscape of the desert, they navigate the intricate maze of cultural differences, often feeling like outsiders. Bowles notes, whereas the tourist generally hurries back home at the end of a few weeks or months, the traveler belonging no more to one place than to the next moves slowly over periods of years from one part of the earth to another. And this distinction between tourist and traveler, which we've briefly noted before, underscores the depth of their immersion and the challenges it brings. Language barriers, unfamiliar customs, and differing worldviews, all these elements create a sense of dislocation for the couple. They're constantly confronted with the other, the unfamiliar and unknown. Yet, amid this dislocation, there are moments of connection, glimpses of shared humanity. These moments remind us that beneath the surface of cultural differences, there are universal emotions, desires, and fears. The characters must reflect on their experiences with the other and ultimately find common ground in a diverse world. The desert, the vibrant streets, the complex emotions. The Sheltering Sky is more than just a novel. It embodies life's biggest questions, set against the backdrop of a wonderfully stark landscape. Paul Bowles once wrote, "We get to think of life as an inexhaustible well, and in many ways his novel invites us to ponder the depths of that well, to question, to reflect, and to seek meaning in our own lives." And as we've explored today through the lens of existential psychology, The Sheltering Sky offers insights into the human condition, the challenges of freedom and responsibility, the feelings of isolation, and the quest for meaning. Thank you for joining me, and I hope it's given you a fresh perspective on a literary classic and perhaps even sparked some introspection. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you read The Sheltering Sky? How do you relate to the themes that we discussed today? And if you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more discussions on literature and its connection to our lives. And until next time, keep reading, keep reflecting, and let stories inspire your world.